I'm Beth Waite. We're at Assembly House in Leeds at my studio, and I'm part of the YSI Sculpture Network. I made a film about reconnecting with this sort of lost or repressed feminine soul through sort of rituals and using props and costume within that, and sort of creating this like narrative imaginary world. I wanted to sort of focus more on creating sculpture and sort of vessels for that soul that then could be interacted with in like a ritual way, but focusing on them as the pieces in themselves. So that was sort of the main aspect of my show at Assembly House. And then I also included headpieces that were used in my film that I'd made that represent different characters that sort of inhabit different aspects of the feminine soul. So there was like a warrior character, a like nurturer character, a like spiritual character, and then like a sensuality character. And they all sort of linked to the elements. And then there was like footprints as well around the space. Just, I really wanted it to be like this presence and sort of making it clear that the objects were like activated or like alive in some way. Performance is like a really key aspect of my work. The sort of act of the performance in my work is like these rituals, this like act of doing like this thing to like reconnect with a sort of spiritual, non-human soul or like being. I think a lot of the way that I think about my work, and like the way that I thought I think about my life as well, is like about like the soul, I think, and like nourishing the soul, or I don't know, I really believe in that as a thing. And I think maybe it's just like I feel like my soul is really tied to nature. I think at the core of sort of my whole practice is like, yeah, disconnecting from like the hamster wheel of everyday life and the stuff that distracts us from like the soul, I guess, of like who we are. I think like disconnecting us from our like natural sort of wants and like the joys of life. It's not like a realistic thing, because it's not accessible for everyone to interact with nature in that way. But I don't know, I think it's not like something that's like, I think that we should do this to create a better world. It's just like a sort of avenue to start thinking about the structures that we like live in. These were all, the idea was that they sort of contain this soul, or could contain the soul. So this one was sort of, I was just experimenting with different ways of using clay basically, because I'm like, I don't really know how to use clay or make pots, so this was like a very just simple coil thing. But when doing it, I sort of feel like the shapes and stuff sort of looked like figures within it, sort of all linked, which really sort of fits with like the four characters sort of idea that I have that make up this soul thing. This piece was a sort of continuation from a headpiece that I'd made with like these sort of nodule things which have a really nice like movement to them which I really like. But yeah, this is like the sensuality character, which was sort of meant to be just like really bodily, a bit like playful, a bit like, I guess, disgusting, if that's the way that you feel about it. I think they're just a bit funny, but yeah, I guess like humorous as well, because bodies can be that way. This as well was like shown with a light inside of it, and I used a lot of light as well in that exhibition to sort of represent this like soul, and like it was sort of a really dark space, and some of the light was coming from the sculptures and sort of meant to be like this energy coming from them. And yeah, this one was meant to be like containing the sort of that aspect of the feminine soul.